fitness of the driver in mind first and foremost. And looking back to Eastern Creek, for example, people might say, well, why did you not pull the driver out of the car quickly? And I think Steve and the medics there explain precisely why. It is about stabilising the driver, making sure that he's in a fit condition to be removed. And you may have noticed that the driver and the seat are removed as one, so that if there's any spinal injuries or neck injuries, that you would minimise any further damage to that part of the body.
Well, we are close to Kuala Lumpur here, and originally the wealth of the area was built on tin mining. Indeed, pewter manufacture is still a key skill here in Malaysia, as some of the drivers discovered.
Malaysia is proud of its long heritage in the field of making pewter. Royal Selangor is certainly the best known pewter brand in the world. So we sent the A1GP drivers along to find out more about this beautiful alloy. So once the drivers had learned all there is to know about pewter, they were set the tricky task of producing something out of the alloy themselves.
The best one. That's never, man. It's the best.
Okay, let's polish the bowl.
Maybe my next helmet, huh?
It was really interesting. I mean, I learned a lot of things there. It was quite nice, and doing some stuff at the end was really funny.
Best bit must have been probably making our own little saucepan right at the end, I think.
We got to use a hammer, so that was always fun. Pounding away things, maybe if we had a bit of aggression.
No, it's good to come and have a go, and shows how good these people are at their trade.
Well, I liked the melted pewter. That was fun. Too bad we couldn't play with it because it's a little too hot.
It's something that we learned in school, and now we come back and see all these things.
It was very good. I was really quite surprised about the handmade things and I'm quite happy I did my board.
I'm gonna send to my mother, and she's gonna be very happy.
She's not going to have a surprise now, is she?
Yeah, no, these Brazilians, they're all mummy's boys, aren't they?
Well, that was a bit of fun again for the drivers earlier this week, and the Malaysian spirit very important here this weekend. Enjoying more of a display down there on the start-finish line for the people in the grandstands. We're in the interval between the two races here at Sepang International Circuit. We've had the sprint race, we've seen a victory for France once again, but it was a wonderfully closely fought race, and they had to work their way through to the front, and they're going to have to do it from pole position next time out. Of course, it'll be a standing start that they'll have to look forward to. Certainly seems to be a lot of support for A1, a lot of people knowing exactly what's going on this weekend, and of course we're just over the road from the airport, so the links into this track are very, very straightforward, very easy. And the next round of the championship coming up in Dubai in a few weeks' time really is chasing the winter sun, although I have to say, John, we're a bit lacking in sunshine today.
The sun's certainly not shone at this part of day, and this morning was lovely, but of course we're in the monsoon season or close to it, and in the afternoon as the temperature builds up, it then draws in the clouds, and so far we've managed to avoid it. There are patches of blue sky around, and there are the odd dark cloud looming over the circuit, but inevitably at some point we'll have a little shower. Hopefully it'll be once everybody is packed up and can relax and enjoy the fruits of their successes, or maybe drown some of their sorrows.
Yes, depending on whichever. So as the fun and games continue down here and the drivers and teams get to work on the cars, we know that the climate here normally is extremely hot and muggy, and for the drivers themselves, physical fitness is crucial. The boys were getting in extra practice earlier this week.
Driving an A1GP car is physically demanding. The drivers are pushing themselves to the limit at even the coolest of races. But add to that the high temperatures and increased humidity of the climate here in Malaysia, and racing becomes tough. So how can drivers prepare themselves for racing in difficult conditions? Stuart Wilde, a human performance director, explains.
We would try and get here quite early, which is what we've done this week, and train a lot of the time outdoors so we can actually get used to the temperature, making sure that we do some work that will prepare them. So they're doing some gentle exercise, but they're outside and their heart rate's up.
It's very important to be fit because to keep your focus on the race, and you cannot just arrive and try to drive.
So when I'm back home, I do about an hour a day in the gym, but then about 2 hours outside on the bike or running on the beach.
We're going to do a thing called a cardio resistance workout.
I've had to sort of really get serious about my fitness because it's so imperative to be on top form for the A1 racing because it's such a physical, fast car.
Inside a car, the G-forces are always moving, braking 4 Gs and accelerating 2-3 Gs and braking every 2-3 seconds and corner this and that. It's when you're not used to it in the beginning, it even messes up your head. You're not used to all the quick reactions and you even get dizzy.
When I see the on-board replays, I think you can't really see how physical it is. But certainly the G-forces that we're pulling almost all the time, constantly on the brakes, on the accelerator, it's very physically tiring.
But some drivers believe they'll cope well in the Malaysian heat.
Coming from South Africa, I think I definitely like it. The hotter the better.
In Brazil, when it's very hot in the summer, it's very difficult to drive, so it will be an advantage for us.
Genetically speaking, I am originally from this sort of region anyway, so I don't have any problems with the heat at all.
In A1GP, where all the cars are equal, then the performance of the driver can mean the difference between success or failure. And ultimate performance can mean the difference between winning or losing.
Well, that was a little earlier on this week, and actually conditions are not nearly as hot as we might have expected them to be here today, so fitness not quite such an aspect as we were mentioning there, although it's still very warm.
When he was out on track almost immediately, he was thriving in the 15-turn circuit here at Sepang. He really allowed his exuberance sometimes to overcome maybe what he ought to be doing. He was laying rubber all around the racetrack, and you could see in the man's face he enjoyed his drive. He wasn't involved in the intensity of a battle that we saw in the latter stages of that race. Nevertheless, he had to fight hard to get to where he is, and racing drivers ultimately, that's what they want to do. It's a very simple thing. You want to go out and race. Driving around single file, no overtaking, that's not motor racing.
Well, there was certainly some good motor racing in the sprint race, and we've got a change of driver on board this car now. The only change of driver that we're going to see here this weekend between the two races, and that is Fairuz Fauzi's now out and Alex Young is in to the Malaysian car. Well, Fauzi did a pretty good job for Malaysia in that first race because he brought it home in 8th position, and you've got to think that perhaps Alex Young's got a chance to move up into the top 5. But what we did see was a great result for India. Let's now hear from their driver, Arman Ibrahim.
Arman, you're one place away from scoring India's first point. How do you feel?
It feels good. Just have to keep it for this race. It feels good, so I have to keep it for this race. This is the main one. So I hope to get in the points and I hope to do well, yeah.
You're looking a lot cooler than Jos Verstappen, who I spoke to a moment. How did you cope with the heat and how do you think you'll do?
That was okay. Just it's a long race. Just keep my head cool and do the best I can.
Well, one place more and you're in the top 10. Good luck, Arman.
Thank you.
I think the reason he's looking so young and fresh is because he's under half the age of Jos Verstappen. Only 16 years of age, Jos Verstappen, slightly older, 33 years of age.
That's right, yeah, so we've got different generations here. As we look back on board, the Malaysian car once again, Alex Young on his outlap at the moment. But, of course, the man who drove this car earlier on to his 8th place finish in a great battle with Team Ireland was Fairuz Fauzi. And we can hear from him now in pit lane.
Fairuz, driving in front of your home crowd here in Malaysia, what was it like out there?
I feel proud, and I had a good race just now. I have a good fight between me and Furman, Ruff, and I hope to improve the car for the future race.
You did well out there. You're level with your best result. You did well out there. You're level with your best result. What do you think Alex can do from that position?
Yeah, I managed to finish 8th position, and it's good for Alex because 8 will be inside for the future race. And I hope Alex can, finish in the top 5. Of course, top 3, it will be bonus for us.
It's been a big weekend for you. You got engaged as well.
Yeah, next year. Yeah.
Well, congratulations for everything.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So there's Fauzi, the 22-year-old, who certainly performed well in the first race, matching his own personal best result of an 8th place. But Alex Young has had 2 5th positions for Team Malaysia this year.
Yes, and Alex Young, of course, doing a very good job. Nevertheless, one of the difficulties when you operate a policy as Malaysia is doing one driver for one race, a second driver for the second race, is the second driver getting into a car that's already completed 15 laps, and that car will probably feel quite a lot different from the last time you were in it, which in this instance was in qualifying on Saturday. So for Alex Young, it's not just simply taking part in an event, he's having to reacclimatise himself to the feel, and it's very much that feel, the body language a car gives a driver, and because your body's so heightened with adrenaline, every little flinch the car makes, you think, oops, something wrong. It didn't feel like that when I last drove this car, but you've just got to modulate all those emotions and think about the 30 laps, not worry about one little twitch.
Right. Well, Adam Khan there getting ready to come out in the Team Pakistan car. What interested me a little bit about the top 10 finishers that we had in that first race was that 9 of the top 10 were also in the top 10 in the points. So the only team that wasn't already in the top 10, USA, they're a little further down the points. They're in 13th. They picked up the final point. So it looks as though the front runners all running consistently quickly here at Sepang Raceway as well. Well, we're going to be looking forward to this feature race in just a little while, but of course the sprint race saw some fantastic action, particularly up front as France fought their way through. Let's just remind ourselves of some of the best bits. This was the start of the race, and as they came into turn 1, France was on the outside, Switzerland was the inside, and Ireland was getting caught in the middle there as well. As they all filed through the corner, there was a clout. Italy got hit. Not sure whether it was by... I think it was Indonesia that actually hit Italy.
Yes, it looked at me at Indonesia as part of white and red bodywork, but this was a battle that took place. First of all, it was Robbie Kerr, Team GBR, to be attacked by France. Then France comes back, but they fought corner for corner. Inevitably, the situation was that GBR had to yield to Team France for second place.
Puncture for Australia. It's been a bit of a disastrous weekend for them. They had a spin in qualifying, and then the loss of the mirror there for Malaysia. Switzerland versus France was then the battle that we focused on, because this was the race for the lead. Niliani of Switzerland had led from the word go, but France were on the attack. And then this move round the outside of turn 1, the first time that he tried it, it hadn't worked, but this time it did work. He got down the inside, Yanni tried to come back, but the French car was in the right place.
So there was a switch back, and this is the point of where we saw the cars going left to right. Yanni then got down the inside, but didn't really take advantage of it. He didn't have the grip. He told us that in the after-race interviews. France swept to victory.
So it was another win for Team France, and also looked like they had a problem with their mirror too. But Alexander Premat didn't worry about that. He came through to take France's 7th win of the season. And now this is how they'll line up for the grid. The Malaysia A1 Grand Prix of Nations, presented by Astro, looks like this. And on pole position, it is France once again. This time it'll be a standing start, but staggered back, so there is the advantage for the poleman. Then it's Great Britain 3rd, Brazil 4th, the Netherlands 5th, and New Zealand in 6th. Ireland had a great battle with Malaysia in that first race. There's a different driver on board the Malaysian car now. Then it's Portugal and the United States. India looking for the first points. Germany, Pakistan and Japan not far outside the top 10. Then we've got Canada still desperately trying to make up ground ahead of Czech Republic, Italy, Austria and Mexico. Luis Diaz, he's had his first run now in A1 Grand Prix for real. 20th place for China. Then it's South Africa, Lebanon, Indonesia and Australia. So Australia having to do it all over again from the very back. That first race didn't last very long anyway with the damage to the car. So let's hope that Australia gets a better run in this 30-lap feature race. Cars already beginning to line up on the grid. They do have the opportunity to drive through the pits and then come into their grid position if they want to try the car out, but quite a few now have decided that they're happy with their cars and they're heading onto the grid.
And in relation to what temperatures we've got a slight increase in track temperature. That's up now to 40 degrees Celsius and ambient up to 32, so that's going to put a little bit more stress and pressure on teams and drivers to look after their tyres.
Here, and it looks as though there's got some problems.
There is a problem somewhere, whether it's related to the dash. You can see the steering wheel's off and engineers are diving in. They've got a large torch to try to illuminate the particular area. I'm not sure which specific parts of the car, but probably electronic ones at that, are located The driver's legs, of course, would sit on top of those parts, be a carbon fibre sheath over that to ensure that the driver's leg didn't scuff against those particular parts. Nevertheless, a stressful moment for Stephen Simpson when he really would want to be in his car, probably out on track doing one or maybe more reconnaissance laps, and then getting on to the pit, onto the grid itself. Now, the downside is that if he doesn't get out before the pit lane closes, he will have to start obviously from the pit lane, and he cannot make that start until the entire 23 car field has gone past the pit lane exit.
Well, he's running out of time because I think they've only got about 2 minutes until the pit lane closes, so it is looking tight. The green flag still there at the end of the pit lane at the moment, but the countdown is continuing, and this could be tough for Stephen Simpson.
Well, Stephen finished in fact in 20th place, and the disadvantage is not going to be as great. In fact, it could easily work to his advantage in that if he had started on the grid, or if he does start on the grid, he's going to be right in the heart of any action into turn one. By starting maybe that second or two after the field has gone past, you've got a clearer view. You're not going to be sort of seduced into overdriving, rushing down, looking for a gap which might be clear 1 second, then becomes a closing gap the next second. So it's not all disaster as it might appear right now for South Africa.
No, that's right, and he's come back from a very lowly position in the past at Brands Hatch. Actually, he qualified the feature race. He lined up a long way back as a result of things not going according to plan in the sprint race. He was 24th then, and he came through to finish in 6th, so it can be done.
Yes, I think things have moved on now a little bit. This is a very competitive field, particularly here in Malaysia. We're under a minute to go before the pit lane closes, so I anticipate that we'll see Team South Africa starting from the pit lane as we look at Hanare Shimoda is just resting. And I think, talking to the team over the weekend, and particularly here on Sunday morning when he got into the car and his team were just tightening down the seat belts, there was a groan from Shimoda, which is really the result of that accident 2 weeks ago. And while there may be no surface indications of any bruising, I suspect that there's a lot of internal bruising which is still very painful.
I think electronics is right, John. It looks like they're changing the battery there at the moment, and that's maybe is what's causing the problem. And Stephen Simpson can only watch and wait and see whether there's a chance. The pit lane's closing in just a few seconds, so they're not going to be out. They are going to have to take this start from the pit lane exit.
Yes.
Great shame for South Africa. And there's the signal. Actually, you can just hear it in the background. Red flag now at the end of the pit exit. Pit lane's closed. Everybody else, I think, is safely onto the grid, but South Africa will have to start from the end of the pit lane. So that leaves a little gap on the grid where South Africa should be. And whether that's going to give an advantage or not, I'm not sure. There's only Lebanon, Indonesia and Australia behind him, or due to be behind him. Let's hear from the team manager, race engineer for that team, Mike Carroll.
Mike Carroll, it's not looking good. What's the problem?
The problem was electrical. Basically, the main feed from the alternator and the battery that goes to the back of the master switch. We had a problem there where the wires came adrift from the eye that they're crimped to. The guys have worked flat out. They've almost got the car finished, but obviously with the very tight time between the two races, we haven't made it before pit lane closure, so we will start from the pit lane.
Mike, thanks very much.
Thank you.
So confirmation of that problem, and at least, well, now in a way, there's no particular panic. They've now got 15 minutes to actually get it finished off, do it properly, and as you said, John, they're not going to lose too much anyway.
Yeah, now it's a case of more haste, less speed. I mean, there was tremendous pressure to get him out onto the grid, but as I say, he was going to be starting on the 10th row of the grid. No disadvantage starting from the pit lane in that event.
Right, let's get onto the grid now and hear from Alex Young.
Alex, you're the only driver on the grid who didn't race in the sprint race. You're probably a lot fresher than the others. That's going to work in your advantage, isn't it?
Not at all. All these drivers are fit. They won't have a problem at all. And they have the benefit of knowing the conditions and really being warmed up, really. But I know the circuit really well, and I don't anticipate any problems. I should be able to get up to speed pretty quickly. Hopefully move up a few places.
Was Phyros able to give you any useful information from the race? Because the conditions change here pretty quickly, don't they?
It's very slippery out there, you know, so whoever can make the tyres last will be strong. But now it's getting cooler, maybe the grip might pick up, so we're trying to second guess what the weather would do, because it might even rain.
Alex, one last thing, give your huge crowd a big wave, because I know they'll give you a big roar. Go on.
Well, they don't seem to be waving that much, but they are definitely supporting the Malaysian team well here this weekend. And Malaysia scoring points consistently in this A1 Grand Prix series. It is a tremendous opportunity for them, racing up against some of the top motorsport nations of history. The history of motorsport a little younger in Malaysia. This track, of course, only built at the end of the 90s, 1999.
Yes, the first round of that World Championship did occur in 99. That was a countryman of mine who won the race under somewhat unusual circumstances because his teammate Michael Schumacher backed off and let Eddie Irvine take that victory. Of course, that was done to assist Eddie's quest to win the World Championship in 1999, which he just failed to do in Japan 2 weekends later.
That's right. Well, we're now focused on what's going to happen in this feature race, and France getting that car set up and prepared, ready to start the feature, the standing start from pole position.
All these ingredients that I was describing earlier that you have to put together to shake, and when it starts to go very well right at the beginning, usually it carries on, and the reverse is true as well, unfortunately.
Thank you very much for speaking to us.
My pleasure.
So Jean-Paul Drie, a very interesting interview that, John.
Yes, I think it was actually it gives an insight into the management, the mind of a management team, because once they were in second place, they were going to start in the front row of the grid, and it's a very well-made point, and one that is not often heard from a team manager, because obviously winning is what it's all about, but it's also about finishing, and there were a lot of risks taken, principally by Alexander Premat, to get past, first of all, Robbie Kerr and Team GBR. There is Mutt the dog sitting in the bonnet of their car, and then in the last lap it was very, very close, nip and tuck through turns 1 and 2, and then quite aggressive moves coming into turn 4. And as Jean-Paul Drie said, it could have gone from being a hero to a zero in the space of those 4 corners. And they're here as a team to win as a team, and it's not about simply an individual performance.
That's right. Well, pressure will be on Alex Premat once again, and well, that's when you're driving for a top team manager like Jean-Paul Drie, who's been there and done it all at most levels of motorsport. That's an interesting comment he's made. But South Africa are getting ready to get Stephen Simpson down to the end of the pit lane, so that he's going to be able to start from the pit lane exit once the cars have gone past him at the start of this race. On the grid, though, we've got the Netherlands, and Jos Verstappen in with a good shout here. He starts in 5th place on the grid, and he is always a great racer. He was racing hard in those early laps. He gained some positions. I think he may have lost 1 or 2 initially, and then he seemed to grab them back again.
Yes, he worked very well, particularly in the first half of the race, and got back what he had lost. He got, starting in the 4th row of the grid, then coming forward, then the melee in those opening laps. I mean, it was fantastic to watch. I mean, to sit here commenting on it, I'd much rather have been in it, because it was a lot less stressful to be a driver in that context.
There's Ralph Furman's car, and he was very much a part of all that was going on, and I would think they might be a little disappointed. They qualified 3rd, of course, for the sprint race, but let's now go down and hear from the driver, Ralph Furman.
Ralph, you know your way around this circuit pretty well. In fact, you've been showing the others the way around all weekend. That race probably didn't go as well as you would have hoped, did it?
I know, a bit disappointed with it. Didn't have a very good start, and then we weren't quick enough to be able to overtake the others again. So made a few changes. It feels better on the outer lap. So it's a much longer race, so hopefully we can get back on the podium.
How are you dealing with the heat? I mean, you're used to racing in the Pacific, aren't you?
Yeah, there's no problem, mate. It's a hot day, but it's been a lot hotter in the past.
And you've got an awful lot of company in this part of the grid. We've got New Zealand, we've got Malaysia, we've got Alvaro Perez, we've got your old mate Jos in front of you. Are they going to give you problems?
Hopefully I'll be giving them problems. So we'll see.
Thanks, Ralph.
Thank you.
Well, Ralph has raced here plenty of times in the past, and he's won here in Japanese GT. And in fact, he was telling us, John, he should have won again this year, but his co-driver collapsed from the heat because it was so hot on that occasion.
Yes, of course, that was in an enclosed car, GT car, and they do get much hotter. You get a huge amount of heat soak coming through a car. In a single-seater like we're looking at here with Team Malaysia, there's still a lot of heat soak, but that air is sucked out, if you like, in part by the vacuum around the airbox and just the simple flow of air around the car. So while it gets very hot in a single-seater, it's bearable. In a GT car on a stinking hot day, it is very tough, and that really does place a premium on drivers' stamina and fitness. And also, I noticed, just talking about hydration, Alex Young, one of the drivers here who's using a drinks bottle, he's got that pipe from the bottle into his helmet, so he feels the need to drink.
Yes, even though he's pretty fit. Let's hear now from Emerson Fittipaldi.
Emerson Nelson did a good job in that last race, making up 4 places. Can he do another 4?
Well, he did a fantastic start, and then he had the problem with the brakes. And now we solved the brake problems. I think he should be attacking the leaders. I hope he can win the race.
It was fantastic racing to watch in that last race. From your point of view, you know, what was it like standing on the sidelines?
Well, it was amazing, amazing. But I would like to have the car Brazil there, the Brazilian team. But there was an incredible dice between Switzerland and France. I mean, it's amazing to the last lap.
Just finally, are you surprised by how dominant France have become?
I am, and we have to stop that quickly.
Emerson, thanks very much.
Well, Emerson Fittipaldi certainly seems to be relishing the task here for Brazil. He's not going to give up chasing France. They're still running second in the championship, remember, and that gap might have opened up a little bit, but you know, one non-finish from France, and that's going to change the situation somewhat. It would certainly allow Brazil to close up. There is Simpson, very lonely. He'll be starting from pit lane. Cars will line up for the start of this 30-lap feature, which will have a pit stop within it. So let's see how they start. It's France on pole position with Switzerland, their big rivals from race 1, in second spot. Now, have the Swiss managed to tune their car in better for this second race? We'll find out soon enough. Great Britain and Brazil on the second row. Then the Netherlands and New Zealand. Watch for Verstappen on the opening lap in particular. Then Ralph Furman, he seemed pretty confident with Malaysia alongside. Portugal and the United States. Brian Herter trying to move further up the order. Then India and Germany trying to squeeze into the points if possible. Behind them we've got Pakistan and Japan. Then Canada, who's been very fast all weekend. The Czech Republic, who's been struggling a touch. Italy and Austria, Mexico and China. South Africa should be there in 21st, but of course we know they're starting from pit lane. So that means that Indonesia will at least have a little space in front of them to try and make up for the disappointment of retiring from the sprint race relatively early with a damaged front wing. That's how they line up then for the feature race here at Sepang, and we're getting close now to the time that they'll be setting off on their formation lap.
It's interesting that we've had 2 drivers complain about a long brake pedal, and just to basically explain that, when you brake, the brake pedal on a car, you expect it to be almost in the vertical position when you brake, and then as you put pressure on it, it goes vertical, and it might go slightly beyond. It's when it goes a long way beyond that vertical that the pedal gets long. That's a very uncomfortable situation for a driver to deal with. The team can help, but sometimes it's into the driver's own feet.
Let's hear from Team GBR now.
Will, I know you've been working hard on the car, you've got it sitting low. Has Robbie got the speed, and has the car got the speed to take to the challenge to these other guys?
Well, we have just made another couple of little changes, so we hope we can manage it, yeah.
Good luck.
Okay, thanks.
Well, the team's working hard to try and get these cars ready and fettled. There's Brian Herter driving for Team USA. He was in the points in the sprint race. Can he do likewise in the feature? And certainly a man experienced with the longer distance races and dealing with tyres that are perhaps going off as the demands of the track have their effect. So he might well use that experience. But you've got the oldest driver in the field, Brian Herter. Up behind him is the youngest driver. Brian Herter's 35. Armin Abraham here is 16. That's the difference between drivers that we've got on this A1 Grand Prix grid. And when you take into account the countries they're driving for, America and India as well, all part of the fun and games that is A1 Grand Prix.
Well, it's great to see youngsters of 16, particularly from, again, an emerging motorsport nation like India. We're seeing China coming forward. We've got Indonesia and Malaysia, of course, as opposed to the more traditional nations such as Germany, Italy, France, Great Britain, and then never forget Holland, of course, the Netherlands, Jos Verstappen. Probably more support for that individual team than everybody else on the grid together.
So there's the overhead view as the grid begins to clear and the teams make their way back behind the pit wall, and it's going to be up to the drivers. Let's hear from the Sheikh.
Apa khabar Malaysia? Thank you all for coming. Here we are racing on Sepang F1 race circuit. It's one of the best race circuits we've raced at. I would like to thank everybody involved, from the circuit to the people who made this happen, and say thank you very much, and we'll see you for sure next year, and I hope you enjoy the show. Gentlemen, for the pride of your nations, start your engines.
So the engines begin to fire up, and Alexander Premat, thumbs up from him. Can he make it 2 out of 2? Yet to see the driver who won the sprint race be beaten in the feature race. but this is going to be a tight contest. And just remember, that first corner, we saw one or two little incidents. We also saw the overtaking manoeuvre of the race taking place at turn 1 late on in the sprint race, and now we're going to see what happens in the feature.
Well, inevitably turn 1 and any racetrack is always a problem area. Here the turn 1 is quite a long way away from the standing start, so cars will be reaching about 130 miles an hour before they get on the brakes. Tyres will not be entirely at operating temperature. Brakes likewise may not be at operating temperature, and of course drivers behind may be slightly unsighted as to where their brake marker might be, the sighting that they need. So always problems into turn 1, something everybody has to be vigilant over.
So away we go on the formation lap. Let's hope they all get away cleanly. Remember, there have been one or two issues getting off the line, and we've got them again there for somebody. Just taking, it's Austria, it's Japan. It's Japan that's left on the grid. That's happened as well last time.
Yes, in Japan, in fact, in the second race, the feature race, the race that led to Naoya Shinoda having that massive shunt. Hopefully this is not going to be a repeat of that. This car, brand new car, built up since Australia enabled Japan to be here in Malaysia, as we see the field thread its way around the circuit now. Shimoda is up and running, but he'll have to join at the tail of the field.
Yeah, he'll have to, everyone's passed him, so that means that he does have to start at the back now. So we've got Japan starting at the back, but he is allowed to start at the back of the pack, and we've got Simpson starting from pit lane.
Yeah, so Simpson and South Africa will have to wait until Shimoda passes the pit lane exit before South Africa can join this race. What will be key, I think, in this race is when teams choose to make that mandatory pit stop. We've seen so often in the past where there's been a safety car incident, everybody diving in. So far we have not seen anything anywhere approaching a safety car incident. Again, hopefully we won't see that. We'll see a race which will ultimately be about the driver's skill and the team strategy, rather than one that's maybe being, let's say, influenced by safety car intrusions.
The final runners heading around on this warm-up lap, this formation lap. You can see Austria there in the background, Mexico as well. Luis Diaz, the 27-year-old who's taken over the driving duties from Salvador Duran, who raced for Mexico last time out in Australia. And Luis Diaz just loving the opportunity to get behind the wheel of a powerful single-seater again, although it's been a few years for him. He raced in Indy Lights and in the Atlantic Championship in the United States, but he's been racing sports cars more recently, or the Grand Am Series, and was runner-up in that. So we've got drivers coming from all different disciplines. We had a quick glimpse there once again at our poleman Alexander Premat, and look at New Zealand getting up to some tyre temperature.
It was interesting with Premat, he was driving around with the visor, the bottom of the visor slightly open, maximising the amount of so-called fresh air, warm preheated air, but trying just to get as much into the cockpit but into the helmet as possible. That will then be snapped down as he comes onto the grid itself. He will not be racing with it as open as we saw there in that brief shot.
Team Ireland there in the green car, the yellow helmet, the distinctive yellow helmet of Ralph Furman. Malaysia, Portugal, the United States, all of these drivers that made it into the top 10 in the first race, hoping to do likewise. But when will they make their pit stops? That'll be a crucial factor, and I don't think anyone will try and prejudge when to make a pit stop. It'll all depend on how the opening laps go and see what amount of traffic they're in, and then try and judge the right moment.
You just look at the cars, how much they're moving around. That's to try and get heat into the tyre, not just simply the surface of the tyre, but into the actual carcass of the tyre. Now contrast that to Stephen Simpson and Team South Africa sitting in the pit lane. He's not had the benefit of doing that, so when he does go on track on his first flying lap of this 30-lap race, he's got to be a little bit more prudent than those 23 other cars who will have just taken the start.
That's right, but at least he might be able to stay out of trouble at the first corner. He can see what happens and then pick his way through in case there are bits of debris up there. Now, coming around, they're going onto the grid this time, remember, so they don't need to be in such a tight formation as when we saw them heading around to take the start of the rolling lap for the sprint race. They're doing a little bit of practice starts, laying some rubber down. Look at the French car, real big black stripes he lays down as he heads up to his pole position.
Yeah, that was a fairly aggressive move by Alexander Premat to get heat into the rear tyres. Got the car absolutely sideways. You can see the tyre mark still on the grid as team boss Jean-Paul Driot. I wonder if he was impressed with that, as certainly probably all our viewers thought. Well, they love all that, because that's what motorsport's about. It's about excitement and about adrenaline.
And it's about noise, as you said, and about the build-up of adrenaline to the start of the race, and that's what we're about to witness here. The last few cars are moving into position. We've got a lot of people supporting Malaysia, jumping around in front of our commentary box They want to see Alex Young create something special here today. Also, the Brazilian fans are here. Can Nelson Piquet Jr. do something from 4th position? We're all set to go. Team Switzerland hoping for the win. The feature race is about to get underway here in Malaysia. The lights go out and Switzerland trying to get away. France trying to cut Switzerland off, squeezing across very quickly. Great Britain getting away in
Brazil
first.
stranded on the grid.
Brazil stuck on the grid again.
And Ireland diving up in between the 5th and 6th to take 4th place.
Look at Great Britain trying to go around the outside. Great Britain trying to take 2nd. I think he might have done it. Great Britain squeezes into 2nd place. France lead, and now it's the bunching that goes off in the middle part of the track. Brazil's just got going. India's on the grass and
body work as well. Contact somewhere on the exit of turn 3, and also Netherlands. Jos Verstappen is pushed off the circuit.
Oh, look at Great Britain take the lead. Great Britain snatched the lead there from Team France as everybody else jostles for position, but he ran too wide, and Great Britain has been repassed by France.
Well, this is the replay of what we saw on lap 1 again. Pressure coming from behind. This time it's Switzerland pressuring Team GBR. Blocks as they go down into turns 7 and 8.
So it's Great Britain versus Switzerland at the moment for 2nd place. This will allow France to run away if they get into too much dicing. Ireland are running in a strong 4th, New Zealand 5th, Malaysia 6th, and then, is that Italy? How could they be that far up?
I think because of the melee that took place in turn 1 and 2, you've just got to be careful, see where you are, see a gap, hope it's not a closing one, and take advantage. But pressure coming again at the back of Robbie Kerr, Team GBR. He mentioned it, a long brake pedal. The team are confident they've got that rectified, but nevertheless this is only allowing France to pick up and run and gain an advantage as they come into turn 15, 14 for the first time.
Remember, they've got power boosts to use as well. They start the feature race with 8 applications of the power boost available. Great Britain's already used 1, so has Team Ireland, but Switzerland and France are yet to use their power boost buttons. Down towards turn 15 for the first time. Look at the little dice that's going on in the background. Team USA trying to make a move there, couldn't quite do it.
And that was Adam Khan was trying to get past Team Pakistan.
Yeah, it was Pakistan defending from USA there, and as they come out of the corner, Pakistan's done well. They're up into the points in this feature race. Let's see what happens across the line. France, Great Britain, Switzerland, again in the background, it's tight. Pakistan in 8th place, USA currently 9th, but Brian Herter's going on the attack. He's trying to go around the outside. Oh, has he gone in too quickly? Can he get it turned in for the 2nd part? USA down the inside of Pakistan, and Herter takes 8th place.
Well, Herter worked very hard, and he took a lot of chances to get past Team Pakistan. Adam Khan was defending that position to the limit of what he's permitted to do. Team China off in McGravel, and that's contact with Portugal.
Yeah, it looks like they've made contact, and the steering wheel gets thrown out. Well, the Chinese driver's learning all the tricks of the trade in motorsport. He looks very frustrated. Team France leads from Great Britain and Switzerland.
By just over half a second, but he's not getting away from Team GBR. Now, whether that's just a policy, he doesn't have to romp away. There's no need to do that. He just has to have control, because he knows that Team GBR is watching their mirrors more than they're looking ahead.
Canada's up to 10th place. Canada's had a great start. They were 15th on the grid, but they're up to 10th. There's Australia. They've also made some good ground. 16th place for Australia, and they were right at the very back. Now, Pakistan is coming under attack here from Canada. That's the next one that the Canadian car's trying to pass.
Now watch Adam Khan. He takes some unusual lines into corners. He tries to get the car as straight as possible so as he can maximise the grip and the bite coming off the corner. He doesn't want to have the rear tyres sliding around. He wants a clean exit.
Now we're on board the Mexican car. Luis Diaz tucked in behind the Australian car, and it's tight as they come through the chicane, but I don't think he's close enough to... Oh, he takes a different line out wide there. Behind is Indonesia, also trying to get involved in this one. Indonesia actually lost out a bit on that last lap. They were ahead of these two cars, and now Indonesia dropping another place to Austria.
Well, maybe there's a problem with that car. Maybe there was contact. We did see bits of bodywork on the opening lap on the exit of turn 2. Maybe that was once again Indonesia. They were involved in an incident there at the start of the sprint race. Maybe they were also involved in the start of the feature.
So it's action everywhere we look. Team India have lost out a bit on this opening couple of laps. They're running down in 14th position. They started 11th, remember, so they'll be disappointed about that. Will Davison for Australia in the bright yellow car doing his best to fend off at the moment Team Mexico. Let's look at the start again.
So look on the left, a great start from Switzerland and from France, but look how much France pushes Switzerland across. That is again a very aggressive move from Alexander Premat. We saw wave flags. There is Brazil and the Netherlands almost side by side. How all those cars behind, and there was virtually nothing. There was almost contact with the Team Netherlands car from one of the back markers.
Yeah, and Great Britain then went round the outside at turn 1, dived down the inside and got that position.
This is Piquet. Stalls. He had the engine running. He stalled as he dropped the clutch. Then he sits there just hoping, above hope that no. And look at that. China went over, what, 2.5, 3 times?
Goodness me, that was a big accident, wasn't it? We hadn't realised the car had gone over. It looked like he'd hit somebody or something. But that's the car he had the contact with. It's Portugal, and that's limping in.
Yeah, right rear is not there. The tyre has totally disappeared. Bodywork damage. You can see the nose. There's the car. Well, this is coming back. This is a replay of what happened. The right rear flat and the car virtually undrivable.
Yeah, disaster there, really.
Yes, Perrin just brings the car back as best he can. The tyre eventually is going to depart from the rim. There it goes. The carcass of the tyre runs on into the gravel trap in turn 15.
Amazing start, because both Verstappen and Piquet both stalled at the beginning of the Portuguese race when they were up near the front, and they've done exactly the same thing again here. I don't quite understand why they've made that mistake once more, but some of the more experienced drivers still finding these cars hard to get off the line. Now look, France is not running away with this race at the moment. Great Britain is keeping right in touch, as is Switzerland.
But I think this is maybe the influence of Jean-Paul Driot in the French team. He's saying that just control the pace. You're in the lead, you're not under threat from GBR, and Switzerland's they're in a battle for second place. So just drive cautiously, don't put any adverse loads or effort into the car.
Yeah, well, certainly Alexander Premat's not running away with this one. Great Britain running second, Switzerland third, Ireland in fourth place, a bit wide there from Switzerland. Then behind Ireland is New Zealand, currently running in fifth. Then they're followed by Malaysia, Italy, the USA, Canada, and the Czech Republic. The Czech Republic's up to 10th place, and they were way, way down. They started on the grid in 16th position. So another good effort that from the experienced driver Thomas Enger, and you can see them running through here. You can see Canada in the background there. Then it's the Czech Republic, the multicoloured car. And behind them, Germany, then Pakistan, who's lost a few places in recent laps. Japan chasing them. In 13th in India, and then this other group going on, Australia, Austria and Mexico.
Remember, Japan had to start at the back of the grid, having not been able to take the position on the grid, as Piquet and Team Brazil also down, trying just to consolidate. There's not much more they can do. Adam Khan embroiled in the battle here with Japan and India, and this is a battle which is going to provide us, I think, with a bit of entertainment.
I think it will, yes. Japan versus India, as you say, with Pakistan just ahead. And it looks like the Asian nations here are having a good old Dyson behind. You can see that Australia was once again under pressure from Austria, so nothing to choose between all of these groups of cars. Yeah, and in fact, in the background,
yes.
Austria's got past Australia.
Yeah, Australia appeared to run very, very wide on the exit, so it allowed Austria to slot down the inside another place for Mateus Lauda.
Yeah, now Australia's coming under pressure again from Mexico. Mexico's got the inside line. No, it hasn't. Australia covers it once again. Is Mexico going to go for the lunge? No, he doesn't. Into turn 15. They're still chased by Indonesia and South Africa, who started from the pit lane. So South Africa on turns there. And then in the background, somewhat further back, we've got Lebanon and Brazil. Brazil did get going. They're not a lap down. So if they can try and join up on the back of this queue, particularly if there's a safety car, they still could be in with a shout of scoring some points.
4 laps down, 26 to go. As yet the pit lane has been empty, other than for Portugal, who were forced to come in with the damage to their car. But so far no team has chosen to do what we've seen so often, make that very early pit stop, get the clear track and use your tyres productively.
Japan's got past Pakistan. Oh, India's hit Pakistan! India has hit Pakistan. Pakistan is off. Would you believe it? The two great rival nations have collided here on the Malaysian circuit. I think India's still going.
Well, it looks like he's not too badly damaged. It may have been just a tap on the back of the car around the area of the gearbox rear wing, but enough to send Team Pakistan spinning into the barrier. Well, there is damage there. It was the nose, in fact, as we've said. We thought it was part of that. He ought to be able to continue. That doesn't appear to have done any damage to the aerodynamic parts of the car or to the mechanical parts, but I'm sure it was a big surprise, as it was for Adam Khan, as it was for Ibrahim.
No, he's being passed now by everybody. Look,
he has
Australia.
his bodywork is, in fact, the nose did get damaged. The left side of the front wing is touching the ground. He'll be in the pits at the end of lap, this will be lap 5.
Mexico also sneaked through there as well, so they continue their chase of Australia. We're still just outside the points paying positions here. but very dramatic moments there as Pakistan trying to make their way back to the pits.
Interesting, Adam Khan had used 7 of his power boost button opportunities either to defend or try to attack, so they kept rather short. Let's look again, and this is just a simple misjudgment on the part of the young Indian driver. He didn't anticipate the point at which Adam Khan and the Pakistan car were going to get on the brakes. Immaturity, inexperience, all you can do is get better.
Yeah, no, well, Japan had just got ahead of Pakistan. Oh, look at that, you can see the real bubble there from Adam Khan's head as he got hit from behind, attacked from the rear.
Adam Khan is the politest man in the paddock you could ever wish to meet, and I just wonder what he thought when he felt that nudge from behind and then found himself being thrown sideways into the barrier.
So, Australia versus Mexico, that's still going on now. This has become a race for 14th as a result of the problems between Pakistan and India, and surely he's going to touch the back of the Australian car. He can't get much closer than that, otherwise the front wing of his car will be buried under the gearbox of the Australian
India's
team.
in the pit lane there, we see him now, the team prepared to receive him. There'll be a tyre change, obviously. There will be a nose and front wing change, obviously, but whether they can do that and get the car jacked up, because the jack actually uses the nose and wing to cause the vehicle to be lifted up.
Yeah, so that's costing them some time. The pit time, stop time there, counting away in the bottom right-hand corner. France continue to lead after 5 laps out of 30 have been completed. They lead by just under a second from Great Britain. They're not pulling away very much. Switzerland 3rd, Ireland 4th, then New Zealand 5th, Malaysia, Italy, United States in 8th place, and then Canada. Look at Switzerland.
He runs wide. He just simply outbrakes himself and therefore isn't able to slow down and loses that momentum that he'd built up. That was down in turn 14. We've seen Team Switzerland having a problem with that corner pretty much all the way through the sprint race, and again a problem for Neil Yarney as he goes into turn 14.
Team Ireland still in 4th, then 5th is the black car of New Zealand. Malaysia follow, then it's Italy having a good run, the United States and Canada, but Canada right with the United States now.
Yeah, I think you're going to see Team USA under a lot of pressure from Team Canada, because Sean McIntosh, who was very, very disadvantaged during qualifying, is now gradually going car by car, place by place, up the field.
There is Luis Diaz driving for Mexico, still running in 15th place, putting the pressure on Will Davison in the Australian car. These guys not in the points yet, but if they get a good pit stop later on, maybe they'll have an opportunity to squeeze up into the top 10. It all depends what happens ahead of them. They're heading into turn number 1, 165 miles an hour, then onto the brakes hard and down to about 45, 50 miles an hour through turn 1. India already heading out, well, I say already, it's a long stop obviously because they had to change that nose cone, heading back onto the circuit, and he's the first one to make his pit stop, but it was a lot longer pit stop than they had planned.
Well, he's certainly going to have a chance to run on his own, on new tyres. 24 laps to go. It's still a long, long way, and a lot can take place. Ireland now running on its own in 4th place. There's some 2.5 seconds behind Team Switzerland, and then of course the pressure from New Zealand not quite so great, a further 1.9 seconds behind.
Germany just outside the points, and Pakistan didn't make it back to the pits, so the crew is packing up the gear, getting rid of the safety equipment. Race over for Pakistan, and all as a result of contact with India. Japan coming through there, running in 12th place, so Hayanari Shimoda doing well at the moment. The man who had that spectacular crash in Australia is just outside the points himself, but there is the race leader. The gap has opened up just a fraction on this last lap. Alexander Premat from Great Britain, and that's Robbie Kerr. Look at the power boosts that have been used so far. Both Switzerland and Great Britain have used more. They've used a couple of their power boosts already. Oh, that was a bit of a lock-up there, as maybe Neil Yarney had to think about going on the attack.
Well, any thought he had has been lost, because the advantage was lost under that lock-up. Going back to that incident with India and Pakistan, it is currently under investigation by race stewards. It certainly was an avoidable incident, but you might put it down to experience. Again, a lock-up from Team GBR, and again a run wide in the first part of this very long turn 1 from Team Switzerland. Again, a little puff of smoke coming off that left front as that wheel is unloaded. There's a nice, quite a little dip there. There you see it again.
No, look at this. This
that's
is
from Malaysia and New Zealand.
Yeah, look at this. This is New Zealand versus Malaysia. Look at Mexico up the inside of Australia. Nearly got the chance to do it, but he can't quite, and Luis Diaz has to back out of it in the end. In the background, by the way, you can see Brazil has now got past Lebanon, and Brazil is up into 18, no, just getting past South Africa, a little side by side with him. Here we are back on board with Luis Diaz, and still he can't find a way past the Australian car, driven by Will Davidson. He's getting frustrated, but he's not making any big mistakes. On board South Africa, and that is Brazil ahead now. So Piquet has just managed to nip past the South African car, and Nelson Piquet, who stalled at the start, is trying to reclaim that lost ground.
And he'll be looking for it just to get in the points, even if it's only 1 point, just to keep their championship position as alive as possible. South Africa, of course, in a different situation. They haven't quite got the pace in the car that we know that Brazil has got. But Piquet Jr. weaves his way through the field, currently now in 17th place, looking forward to Indonesia, Mexico, and then that battle of Mexico and Australia. There are those three cars, and in reality we should expect to see Brazil sweep by them relatively easily. The trouble is, a battle going on like this, the drivers are not thinking about what's coming behind, i.e. Brazil. They're just thinking about immediately what's affecting their race.
Old Luis Diaz got carried away with using his power boost. Look, he's only got 2 left, and he started with 8, whereas Australia's still got 4 opportunities to use the extra boost. It gives them another 30 brake horsepower. It raises the rev limit, but it also changes some of the other aspects of the engine tuning just for the moments that it's being applied. Now look at Great Britain and Switzerland, very close to one another. France have escaped a little bit. They've now got a 2-second advantage over the 2 teams behind them. Very little to choose between Great Britain and Switzerland, and then Ireland in 4th. There is Malaysia ahead of New Zealand. So Malaysia's found a way past New Zealand, and there was a bit, I wonder why they're all clapping in front of us here in the grandstand. That's why, because Malaysia's 5th.
So a good improvement from Alex Young to get that car up into 5th place. He's got Ireland now on his sides. That's a further 3.2 seconds down the road. But we're seeing that the Team France advantage now begin to pull away. I suspect that France were under instructions not to push too hard in the opening laps if they weren't under pressure. They weren't under pressure. Just give the tyres an easy time when you've got a big fuel load on board to ensure that the tyre performance will remain consistent for the entire race up to your pit stop.
We saw a car go out earlier on. That was the Chinese car. Driver is back in the pits. Let's hear from him.
Tengi, I'm glad to see that you're okay. What happened?
Just in the first corner, I think in that corner I overtake Lebanon and also a Portuguese car. I was brake quite later and just go a little bit large, but I tried to go back. After I don't know what's happened. I was thinking Portuguese car was some problem. He's doing the drive, but I don't know why he's inside of my line. And just maybe my back, the rear tire catch his front tire, then the cars go wrong.
So not your fault then?
I think not my fault.
Tengi, thank you.
So that was a dramatic incident, big rollover for Tengi Jan. The speeds at that corner not as high as at some other corners, of course. Let's just see how France, though, pulling away from Great Britain. Switzerland taking a tighter line, not really an overtaking attempt, but certainly a tighter line into the corner.
It's really trying to distract the driver, get Robbie Kerr's head to look in the mirrors one way, then the other way. If you can get a driver looking rearwards more than he looks forwards, you then got him in your sights, and you can put the pressure on, just apply it more and more and more until the guy just simply squeals. Now there's an opportunity, but he wasn't sufficiently up alongside Team GBR to make it stick.
It's a very deep approach into the corner that Robbie Kerr makes up there in the British car, and Switzerland keeps thinking it's got a chance to nip through, but in fact doesn't have that opportunity opened up to them. Behind there's a decent gap back to Ireland, so at least Switzerland doesn't have to worry too much about coming under threat from Team Ireland. Ireland running 4th, Malaysia now running in 5th place, so that swapping of drivers between Faraz Fauzi and Alex Young seems to be working well for Malaysia. Up to 5th place, New Zealand 6th, Italy 7th, USA still just fending off Canada 8th and 9th, and then the Czech Republic in 10th. But Neil Yarni in the silver Swiss car definitely keeping the pressure on Great Britain. Here we are looking back, there's Alex Young, he's eased away from New Zealand. Then it's Italy chased by the USA, Canada and the Czech Republic. Those 4 cars very, very close to one another. That's Brian Herter in the Team USA entry, and he's now trying to put some pressure on Enrico Toccacello.
And also Sean McIntosh and Team Canada. With these 4 cars running at identical pace, it's very difficult to do very much about it. You're dependent very much on the car ahead of you making a mistake to give you the opportunity to get past. The pace being dictated by Team Italy, and 3 other cars are basically running at that lap time.
Interesting that we haven't seen pit stops as yet, except for those people that have had problems. Often we've seen pit stops being made very early in the feature race. It's not happening today.
I think the reason why is most people in the feature race started with a brand new set of tyres, or certainly a set of tyres that was virtually other than just simply cured. Now there we see some of the tyres that are being prepared for pit. There's Austria, I think. Team USA likewise. Those tyres will have been run. They may have done a simple 1 or 2 lap. As India car is being pushed to safety. That's on the, I can't quite see which corner that is. Look at the Netherlands, Jos Verstappen. There would have been a waved yellow flag there, and Jos Verstappen came round absolutely flat out. That was on the exit of turn 8.
Look at Switzerland. They almost got alongside Great Britain there for a moment. As we were watching that incident, the marshals going in both directions, and Jos Verstappen not quite sure where to go, but Robbie Kerr just still able to keep Switzerland behind him, but it looked very close again as they went through turns 1 and 2. Into the pits then comes Italy. Now they're one of the front runners. They were running in 7th place, so Italy into the pits.
And also we're seeing Indonesia come into the pits as well, so this is a pit stop for a tyre change. So Italy gets it done. The top, the tyre. Yes, he's running.
Good stop.
So
yeah.
the time on the screen will be from the point he enters to the point he leaves. So it's a long pit lane here. It takes a long time to get to your garage. It takes an even longer time, it seems, to get to the exit. Let's look again at Portugal going way again off track, dirt tracking, throws muck. Now that's going to be a problem for the cars that are following, because the track on the racing line is covered in gravel.
Yeah, I wonder if that was the area that India ended up spinning. I'm not quite sure. It was difficult to identify that particular point. Well, the first pit stops being made then, Italy and Indonesia choosing this moment. It'll be very interesting to see how that works for Italy in particular, because they were in this top group, and they're playing their strategy quite carefully here. Out onto the circuit comes Indonesia. 20 laps remain in this feature race. It's France in control by 2.3 seconds over this battle. We're on board Switzerland. It's Great Britain immediately ahead.
Neil Yanni picks up the slipstream. Team Switzerland trying to get under the rear wing, pull out and pass. He's going to have to go the long way around. Can he get in front? Well, both drivers on the limit, locking up brakes, but Yanni and Switzerland have got a marginal advantage on the exit of the corner. Can he use it? Has he got anything left? Can he get alongside GBR? It's going to be a battle. Watch the car in front. Will it move around to block, or has he got the line that he can hold it? Switzerland pulls out to the left, but he's not far enough, or is he? He is. He's just driven by, but in doing so, he's opened the door again for GBR to come through on the inside.
It's side by side into turn 2. Switzerland on the inside. Great Britain trying to go around the outside. It's still side by side through turn 3, and now Great Britain's got the inside line for the next corner, but there's nothing to choose between them. Up the hill into turn number 4. They go down to second gear for this one. Another chance to outbrake. Switzerland still trying to go around the outside. They can't quite do it, and after a third of the lap, Robbie Kerr's held on to second.
What a fantastic bit of driving between these two drivers. They've been side by side in turns 1 and 2. They went side by side into turn 4, battling through turns 5. But now the gravel on the track, that's where it was all kicked up. Be very careful, boys, because that could send you shooting off the track.
Of course, all this is allowing France to get away a little bit, and it's also maybe allowing Ireland to catch up a touch. So we'll have to watch out for that. Ralph Furman will be watching what's going on ahead of him and thinking, this could be my chance. Now, be careful, Robbie. That's where he locked up earlier in the sprint race and allowed a chink for Alexander.
Around the outside, the same as France did, but they're side by side. He's just cut across the nose of Team GBR. He's taken that second place, but GBR is still in the fight.
Well, remember, Robbie said he had brake problems in the first race. I wonder if he's got a repeat of the brake problems. It was the same area where he just seemed to outbrake himself, and he's now dropped down to third. Switzerland have moved into second position. Third place, it is now Great Britain. Fourth place for Ireland, and Ireland have definitely closed up a little bit over the last lap.
News from the stewards from India have been excluded from the remaining part of this race. 19 laps to go, and that is because it was an avoidable incident. So young Ibrahim, 16 years of age, has been taught a lesson, slapped on the legs, sent to bed without any tea, and no TV in the bedroom either.
Well, here we are looking again, John, at this move. There was the slight look up there, and again, as he turned into the corner, that's really what messed it up for Great Britain, and Switzerland took advantage immediately.
Well, the momentum was always with Switzerland. They have the quicker car. We know that Team GBR had a problem with the brakes. I don't think that was necessarily that. I think it was just the consequence of relentless pressure from Neil Yanni. There it is. Well, there's a lock-up, in fact. That could have been a long pedal. The inside wheel locked up, loses momentum off the corner, has to wait to get the car straightened up. Neil Yanni and Switzerland saw that, got on the throttle, went the long way around, still slightly wider than the apex than they needed to be, but in doing so they got the position conclusively now in second place, but some 3.4 seconds behind race leaders Team France.
So a little bit of delight down there. Brazil still gaining some ground. Brazil's actually up to 13th place now and trying to get past Austria for 12th position. Just seen the Czech Republic come into the pits. Actually, he's still, he's just ahead of Mexico still. Brazil in 13th place. He's got a bit of ground to gain now to close up to Austria. Austria's quite a long way down the road. South Africa there running in 15th place. Australia still in 16th. Lebanon in 17th. And then Italy, who's made their pit stop, down in 18th position. So we are beginning to see one or two more pit stops. And I've also just seen coming into the pits the man who's been black flagged from this race, the Indian driver Arman Ibrahim. So there is the car coming into the pits.
In fact, we're just again getting word to us from the stewards it wasn't for the incident that occurred when he bumped into the back of Team Pakistan. It was, in fact, that he was started on the circuit, and that's the reason why he's been black flagged and his race is over. So maybe not as severe a lesson from a driving perspective, but it's one of those things that drivers got to do. I think Team Ireland, by the way, just dived in the pit lane. They were running in 4th place. They benefited out of that battle with Switzerland and Team GBR to enable them to close within a second. So Team Ireland now in the pit lane. There's the sign from the Irish team. Brakes on. Ralph Fairman brings the car in 60 kilometres per hour, a little over 40 miles an hour, interminably slow.
Canada also in, so that's a crucial stop too, because they were in that battle with the United States. Interesting tactics going on down here in the pit lane now. Different pit stop strategies.
New tyres going on for Ireland. That'll give them an advantage when they go back out, particularly if they can find a section of track where it's clear.
The mechanics running out to attend to the cars remaining. Remember, only one mechanic allowed per wheel. There's a problem
right side, front and rear, a problem for Ireland.
Oh, disappointment for Ireland.
Not again, wheel nut. They can't get the wheel nut. They've got to put a new one on. This is all over Red Rover for Ireland. Once again, wheel nuts causing a problem for teams in these pit stops.
Canada stay ahead of Germany. They came in virtually together, Canada and Germany, and they've maintained that advantage. Now, finally, Ireland are on their way, but they will have dropped down to probably just outside the top 10 once everybody's made their stops. So it hasn't gone right at all for them. And Germany rejoining just in front of the Netherlands, so that will bring them back out in 17th.
So we see Team Ireland come out on a weekend on which they felt extremely confident, probably their most confident of the 5 events that we've been to so far. A circuit that Ralph Fairman knows particularly well. He had seen the benefit that that Switzerland and Britain allowed him to gain. They timed their pit stop, I think, very well indeed. But all went wrong on the right-hand side of the car.
Well, it can happen for anybody, and they've still got the front runners to make their pit stops. So there'll be some nerves down there in pit lane, witnessing more problems for teams. The leader, France, Switzerland second. There's Great Britain turning in 3rd place. Malaysia now 4th as a result of Ireland making their pit stop. Chris Gaughan on the right there, the British race engineer for Team France. And seeing that their car is leading at the moment, and another car in the pits, I think that was New Zealand, was it, coming into the pits behind Malaysia. So New Zealand now also choosing this moment, to come into the pit lane. United States also in, I can see, looking across from our position. There we are. It's both Matt Halliday for New Zealand and Brian Herter for the United States into the pit.
So this is a battle for position, and that battle will be as strong in the pit lane, because as we've seen with Ireland, things can go very badly wrong. And it's a question here when you're under pressure. Now, New Zealand are earlier in the pit lane, so they can see what's happening ahead of them, whereas Team USA really have just to focus on what they're doing. There is the Team USA, literally one pit box or 2 pit boxes down. Good job from New Zealand, but the left rear on this car, yes, it's done. Can he get out? Watch the tyre on the left-hand side. So again, New Zealand get out ahead of their rivals, Team USA, who are struggling on their left side. But I think it's that left rear.
Yeah, it looks like a major problem. Not a major problem, just the mechanic puts his head in his hands. It was a slower stop for Team USA. Not as disastrous as some of them, but nonetheless not brilliant. 46.2 for New Zealand from start of pit lane to finish, and 53.8 for USA. They lost a great deal of time there.
Well, Team France are leading this race, and they've led it from it's going out very comfortably indeed. But the fastest lap of the race is, not ironically, but rather strangely, from the Czech Republic, a 1:56.869. Thomas Enger, I suspect, on his new set of tyres, doing a very good job.
Yeah, going very quickly indeed. Here comes the race leader into the pit. This is the test for Team France. Can they get the car of Alexander Premat turned around quickly? It means that Switzerland takes the lead here, with Great Britain moving up into second position, and it's France now who will have to try and get their man out as quickly as possible. They've been excellent in the pits so far in the series, and they're going, remember, for win number 8.
And lots of lockups coming into turn 1. First we saw Team Switzerland leading this race, now from Team GBR in second place, locking up as well. Again, going back to the problems that GBR had with the long brake pedal, I wonder is that something that everybody's having as an effect of, some cases more than others.
Let's watch the stop here. It's looking good so far. They've got the four-wheel. Oh, that was a brilliant stop. We'll see what the total time is as he comes down the pit lane. He's still on the speed limiter until he gets to the line, of course. But that was a great stop. Look at this. It's going to be 40.5. Well, we thought the New Zealand stop was quick. That was 46 seconds. That was an outstanding stop from Team France.
Well, you win races and lose them in the pit lane as much as you do in the racetrack. And that clearly has got to be the winning pit stop of the afternoon. 40.6 seconds, stunning. But now we have to see whether Switzerland, again, that lock-up on the unloaded front wheel, whether it's the left or the right, Neil Yanni through turn 9, climbing up through 10, and then the cut back to the right through turn 11.
Yeah, the race leader continuing on his way. They're not ready for a pit stop yet, so they're going to wait a little longer, but it does look like...
Team GBR is.
Yeah, Great Britain are heading into the pits in a moment. I hope they're ready for it. They've got a tough task to beat the time set by Team France there. That was very impressive, but we'll wait to see exactly what they do. Now, with people not having stopped, it means that Austria have come up to 5th, Brazil are up to 6th, but remember, they've still got their stops to go. Italy's looking in pretty good shape. They made their stop early on. They're running 7th ahead of the Czech Republic in 8th. Canada ahead of New Zealand after the pit stop, so New Zealand's stop wasn't quite as good as we thought it might have been. They've lost out a few places as a result, and particularly the Czech Republic have gained considerably.
What Team Switzerland have got to do is measure it, and GBR comes in and locks it up. Did he get down to 60 kilometers per hour before he went across the line? The radar gun will tell us that if he didn't.
I wonder again if the brake problem is afflicting him. Of course, it doesn't matter too much if he has a flat spot on the tyres, because they're going to change that.
If he has a brake problem, you ought to be that little bit more careful coming up to that line, knowing that you may well find yourself with a lock brake or a long brake pedal.
Right, here we go. They are at work, the boys, and they're being timed by the French team as well. They want to see how quick this stop is going to be. Is it going to put Great Britain in shape? I think the left rear is in trouble. We're on board with France coming up to go past the pit lane exit, and they stay ahead of Great Britain by quite a long way. Great Britain still not moving, and they've got a problem.
Of course, you're not allowed any more than the 4 workers. He's got to go and get the parts that are necessary. He can't have somebody handed to him now. They brought out another wheel. What other problem was with the wheel, with the hub and the wheel itself? So they're having this is one of the issues we saw early in the series. We thought this had been rectified, but clearly here in the heat of Malaysia, it's returned to haunt teams. GBR and Ireland in particular have been the major sufferers.
They've been usually the best, one of the best teams as well, Team GBR, and yet this time it's all gone disastrously wrong, and with only one guy allowed to work on it. When there is a problem, it's up to him. He's got to sort it out. No one else can do it. Austria's off. Austria's gone off.
Yeah, so I don't know whether that's the result of a spin or whether that's just simply a mechanical issue. It's at a part of a racetrack where it doesn't look like there was any reason to go off. So simply maybe Matthias Lauda and Team Austria have had to pull out, and there's been a traumatic weekend for Austria. They had difficulties on Saturday morning. They didn't get as much running as...
He's done it.
Yes, they got it done now. But that's, I mean, you're talking about minutes here, not seconds.
Look at that. What a total disaster that was. And Robbie Kerr has to go...
We're over a minute and a half.
Yeah, he has to go back out into the fray. Now into the pits comes Switzerland. So this is the real crucial one. Has he done enough, and can Switzerland get him back out ahead of Team France?
I don't think it was so much the crucial, the pit stop itself. When they were running, as we saw Switzerland doing, staying out after France, he was running at about 1:58, 1:59. With a new set of tyres on, you can run at 1:56. If you're really on it, maybe at 1:55. So it's the time that you're losing by staying out unnecessarily long against, say, France, who are now back in the lead, and they've just put a lap on, or just in effect ahead of Brazil. But Brazil is running in overall position 4th. But
They've got a problem here
yes.
as well, I think, maybe on that right rear. Switzerland still trying to get it done. It's not too big a problem yet, but France retain the lead. They come back into turn one, way ahead of Switzerland, who finally get going.
But Brazil and that shot, in fact, while they're running on the road in third place, have yet to make their tyres stop.
50, what's it going to be? 53.1. That's a full 13 seconds, or just under 13 seconds slower than France's pit stop. It's all looking very good for Team France, whether it's on circuit or in the pit lane. The French crew's got this thing sorted.
But I tell you, second place and onwards is open to anybody. I mean, it could be, look at Ireland. Ireland currently running down to 14th. Who's not to say they couldn't be second as we go back on board with Team France. Alexander Premat through turn 6, dives down into this double right-hander, down a gear. First part of it, just let the car run out, then pick up your apex to exit cleanly, and then the run down into that very tight second gear, start turn 9.
Well, things are looking pretty comfortable for them now. Team France heading for another victory, perhaps with 12 laps to go. But as you say, John, it's going to be mighty tight for second place. And looking at who's made pit stops so far, Switzerland will, I think, retain second, but behind them third could be Italy, I think, once we've seen the remainder of the pit stops being made. We're riding on board here with Brazil. He's currently third, but he's yet to make his pit stop.
Well, the key will be how long can he stay out and how much time will he lose, because simply by now we've done some 18 laps in this set of tyres, but it may well work to their advantage, seeing how much trouble other teams have had. He takes on average 40 seconds in and out. He's currently he's half a second behind France. He could come out just about in 11th or possibly 10th place.
Battle for 17th here between Indonesia and Japan. Remember, Japan lost a great deal of time in the pits. There's an opportunity for Japan. That's the move made. Same place we've seen a number of moves, particularly between Great Britain and his pass by Switzerland. Similar sort of move there from Hayanari Shimoda, who got turn 9 right and was able to drive around the outside of Ananda Mikkola at the next corner.
Yes, and I think that's just the consequence of having a set of tyres that are slightly fresher on Team Japan than that on Team Indonesia. The grip, the bite, and look at this. Italy, Czech Republic.
This is the battle for third, effectively. It's not at the moment, but when the pit stops are made, it will be. Look at this, Toccocello and Thomas Enger, great stuff, and behind them, Canada also involved in quite a dice there as well, so they've got to watch out. These will be crucial places. They could be for the podium.
And it's Switzerland, the fourth car of this chain. Now he's going to try and find a way to pull out, gets alongside Canada coming into turn 4, trying to regain his. Czech Republic gets past Italy.
Yeah, Czech Republic have got the place from Italy, although Italy coming back on the exit of the corner. Switzerland are a lap ahead effectively of these guys. Are they? No, they're not, are they? Because I think that stop from Switzerland was that bad that they've actually, it has put them back out into this group. So this really is for position. So this is the race for second place effectively now with the pit stops, and we'll have to see how it works out.
The only two teams that in the top 10 who have yet to make a stop are Brazil running in second, Mexico in third, but now it's the Czech Republic in effect running in second place and Italy in third place, but we have to wait and see how it unfolds. Brazil and Mexico, once they've made their pit stops, I think we're looking at the battle for second, third, fourth and fifth place.
That's right, yeah, and Switzerland now closing up to the back of Italy there. You can see the blue car not as quick, and Thomas Enger in the Czech car is pulling away from these two. So Neil Yarni, we're on board with him, and he's got to do something a bit special here to try and get past the Italian up towards an area which might work for him.
Well, Toccocello's not been the easiest car to overtake in any of the previous 4 rounds. It's not that he's unfair or does anything that is considered illegal. He's just one of those guys who can make his car fit the entire width of any racetrack, no matter how wide it is.
Using power boost, Neil Yarni trying to do it. He's going to go round the outside at turn 15. Can he pull it off, or will he be squeezed out? Oh, that's great pass by Neil Yarni.
He just swept around the outside. Toccocello and Team Italy tried to respond by getting on the throttle, but Yarni had the momentum, but he's coming back, but he's not far enough alongside. Yarni's got the inside line, but watch Italy, they're not giving up.
Switzerland, Neil Yarni moves up one place. He knows how to drive that first corner too now. He knows how to fend them off. He's had a few runs up there. Brazil into the pits. That was a good stop, I think, for Brazil at last. They've usually had problems in the pit lane, but that looked much sweeter, and hopefully Piquet's got the chance to move up the order a little bit here. But this is the race for second, and Mexico's still in second place at the moment. We're still waiting for Mexico to make their pit stop.
So Team Italy now getting the heat from Team Canada, Sean McIntosh. who was really disadvantaged in the sprint race, has made position for the feature race, now trying to find an opportunity to put himself in 6th place. GBR.
Great Britain going very slowly. He's down in 19th after that slow pit stop earlier, but he's touring.
Well, that looks all over, sadly, for Team GBR. Whether that's related to that very difficult pit stop when the engineer could not get the nut to reattach to the hub. But look at this battle, locking up from Italy. Runs, well, he didn't run wide, but he certainly goes as close to running wide. That also caused momentum. And this is a battle also, Ireland and the Netherlands. This is for 12th place. Two of the older drivers, and contact between Ireland and the Netherlands in turn 1.
Contact made, and they were still side by side, and they turned into the left-hander that way as well. Verstappen tried to cut back, as you say, two of the older, more experienced drivers getting into a wheel-banging match up at the first couple of corners. Now then, Switzerland is getting closer to the back of the Czech Republic car here. Look, this is going to be, it's the race for 4th, but it will be the race for 2nd. Here comes Switzerland down the inside. Thomas Enger doesn't even battle it. And behind them, look, Canada trying to get past Italy as well. He's trying to copy what Neil Yarni did on the last lap, but he doesn't quite get it done.
He just does not have the experience yet of Toccocello. Toccocello knows how to make his car wide. Oh, nose cone! Contact to the back of Italy. Sean McIntosh has run into the back of Italy. He literally caught the nose on the rear wheel, and now he's got a puncture. He's going to lock the car up. You see, right front has been punctured. That was his own nose that did that damage. It was just as a consequence of the contact, and he came out trying to swim out from behind Team Italy, and now will make his way back to the pits. And again, a disappointment for Canada after such a great showing in the feature race.
What a pity for Sean McIntosh. He fought his way up from the back of the grid into a great point scoring position. It's all over. And it's all over for Team Great Britain, as well as Robbie Kerr clambers out of his car. And for the two sister teams, if you like, Great Britain and Canada, who operate together in certain ways, they are both out at the same time.
Now just watch what happened. He was just too close to the rear wheel, the left rear wheel of Italy. Now there, part of the racetrack, just on the edge of turn 15, there's carbon fibre shards all over the place. Now this is the penalty you pay when you pull out too late, you clip the nose against the rear wheel. Now I don't know why Toccocello's car hasn't got a puncture on that left rear to match the puncture of Team Canada's right front.
Well, that's the end of the Canadian race, and there is Sean McIntosh being pushed away by the ever-eager marshals here at Sepang. And let's just update you with what's happening. France lead this race with Mexico in 2nd, but they've yet to make their pit stop. So Mexico in maybe a full 2nd, if you like, at the moment. Switzerland are the next car. Then it's the Czech Republic, Italy. Now Malaysia will have gained a place as a result of that. It'll put them into 6th, which will become 5th. Once Mexico make their stop, they're followed by New Zealand, Germany and the USA.
But the comfort zone that France now has in effect over Switzerland, who are de facto running in 2nd place, although Mexico has yet to make its pit stop, is something like 16 seconds.
Oh, a bit wide there for Lebanon. Australia nipping through on the inside. That is for position. That's for 13th place. And Lebanon, Khalil Bashir has just lost that position to Will Davison of Australia. Behind him now, he's got to watch out because the South African car's not far behind. Stephen Simpson at the wheel. Turns into turn 15. He's used only 3 of his power boosts so far in the Lebanese car, but I think you'll see the Australian car ease away there. You can see how close both South Africa and Brazil are to the back of Khalil Bashir, and South Africa having to defend here from Brazil. PK having a little look at the inside, and he makes the move. He's passed.
Well, that was almost a telegraph to say that Nelson Piquet and Team Brazil were going to sweep by South Africa, because he had more pace off turn 15, and South Africa, they were going semi-defensive, but they weren't really defending that position. They knew they didn't have the pace, and Piquet Jr. clearly very determined, and disappointed as well to make up for that difficult pit stop. So he gains a position to Brazil, now up to 14th, and still another 4 places to go before he can even get a single point in this feature race.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's what happens. He stalled on the line, and now he's got to try and reclaim that lost ground. The other man who stalled, of course, at the start was Jos Verstappen. He's the one running in 11th. He was the one battling for the final point with Ireland. Ralph Furman's currently in 10th place. Look at this, South Africa now have managed to nip past Lebanon. So Lebanon's lost a few places on that last lap, but Khalil Bashir doing a good job of not getting into too much damage. He's got a big tyre mark on his side pod as it is from earlier in the race.
Well, all Khalil Bashir will want to do is to finish this race virtually unscathed, apart from a bit of a rubber smudge down the side pod. But remember that incident at Brands Hatch when he got into big trouble here. Once again, Team Brazil putting pressure on to the back of Will Davison and Team Australia, and this is going to be almost a pass, almost giving it up, because just the pace that Brazil have got is way beyond where Australia are at this stage with 7 laps remaining.
Yeah,
he hasn't got it done yet.
No, not yet, because although Davison ran wide, he still had the power on, so Piquet wasn't quite able. Oh, Piquet nearly messes it up. He had a big slide there into the braking zone, and he only just sorted that one out. But he has gone around the outside.
Amazingly, with all that kerfuffle and steering wheel shuffle in the cockpit, he got past. But Australia's coming back. This is a battle for position. Will Davison's come up the inside into turn 1. Piquet could afford to break a little bit later as Davison locks up the race momentarily. Piquet around the outside, he's just about got enough done. He has to take that place and confirm it. But Davison's back again.
Well, this is good racing. It might be for 12th place, but Davison's not going to give it up without a struggle through Aussie spirit there. But in the... Oh!
Piquet runs wide. I don't know what he did. He lost concentration.
And he's back in front. Look at that. Australia retakes the place. And Piquet, I don't know whether he looked in the mirror. Now Australia's a bit wide, and he's going to try and get alongside him into turn 5. Surely you can't go around the outside of that one.
What he's going to try and do is get in position to take turn 6, and he's just done it. So, well, good thinking from both drivers again. For close motor racing, no quarter given, but fortunately no contact either.
No, that's right. Somehow they kept it clean. That was good stuff from both Brazil and Australia.
We're still looking up here. France is leading. Mexico is still in second place, yet to make its one mandatory pit stop.
Well, they can make it any time they like. There is our race leader. It is France with a 14-second lead over Mexico, but Mexico can make their stop on the last lap if they want to. It's allowable within the rules, but Luis Diaz enjoying his time. I would have thought his tyres would have almost given up the ghost by now, but he seems to be running around quite happily now. He's just been displaced by Switzerland actually on that last lap. Switzerland have passed him on the track, and I would imagine we will be seeing Mexico into the pits fairly soon now.
And interesting, France has still got 7 shots on the power boost button, and the only reason he might want to use one of those, because fastest lap in this race has actually gone to Brazil, is he may want to once again confirm that France are the quickest team out here. But they do have that lap from the first race when it was a 1:55.
Switzerland, there you are, now in second position, a clear second position behind Mexico, who hasn't made a pit stop and must be slithering around all over the place. I think was about to be passed by the Czech Republic. So Czech Republic on for their best result in A1 Grand Prix. They're set for a podium if things continue the way they are at the moment. Italy also well up, so is Malaysia.
So 3 teams could come away here today, big smiles on their faces, but I suspect that the entire field, or those that certainly finished this race, will be looking like they've really enjoyed their afternoon's work, because what racing drivers want to do is race, and that's what they're doing.
Mexico there, still running in third then, ahead of the Czech car, but Thomas Enger's made his pit stop, whereas the Mexican car has not done so yet. So looks like it's going to be good news for Thomas Enger, and he can just afford to sit and wait, really. He obviously hasn't got the pace that Switzerland has. He was passed by Switzerland a little while ago. Neil Yardi is going very quickly at the moment, still lapping in the 1:57, so that's an impressive lap time. We can see that Team France a little bit slower than that. They're in the they can cruise now, but they're still in the 1:58. So Yardi the fastest man on track at the moment, although Brazil actually have the fastest lap in the race.
Interestingly, also, Netherlands have yet to make their pit stop for tyres. They had a problem at the start when the car stalled, so they've been in the pit, but they've not made a pit stop to change those tyres. Unless they did something which we did not see, but I can have to say, seems unlikely.
Yeah, that's right. That's an interesting one, though. New Zealand there in the black car running 7th. Behind them, Germany in 8th, USA 9th. So those 3 all racing for position. Germany with 1 power boost available. USA also with 1 power boost available. Ahead of them, New Zealand still got 5. So New Zealand is best placed and can defend from these guys behind as Herta tries to close on Germany just ahead into turn 1 here.
And of course, New Zealand just ahead, so this is the battle that we're currently focusing on. New Zealand, Germany, and the USA.
Brian Herta tucked in behind Timo Scheider there as they exit that first sequence and flat out here through turn 3.
Strange as to where Piquet ran off the track. What was he doing? Was he looking in his mirrors, or was he looking down somewhere else? He certainly wasn't looking at the racetrack.
No, it's a flat-out corner, that kink. It's not even they don't even have to think about it. It's full throttle.
It doesn't register. It's just a curve. You go through it, and you just allow the car to free up. And but he let it free up too much and got on the down from the outside.
So here we are, riding on board with Brian Herter once again as he keeps the pressure on Germany. Only 5 laps remain in this 30-lap feature race. It seems to have flown by with all the incidents and drama that we've been watching. And for Team France, they are heading for yet another win. Their confirmation, New Zealand still have 5 power boosts available to them, whereas Germany and the USA only 1 apiece.
Well, a lock-up from Germany into turn 9. The benefit that New Zealand have got is they've got this nice little comfort zone. They can use their button, their power boost button, both as an attack mechanism, but principally here they'll be using it as a defense mechanism. So should Germany or USA get within overtaking distance, a little push in the button, hold it on the throttle flat out. It's only when you lift off the throttle that the system will disengage.
Yeah, up towards turn 14. This is an opportunity to use it, perhaps. Are they going to go for it on this lap? Herter looking in the mirrors is Scheider into the German car, and a good old look in the mirrors. Where's that American car? Is he going to use his power boost? No, he's not, is the answer. They both reserve their power boost for another lap. And off. Malaysia's had an off. Oh no,
they were in 6th place. They're now in the middle of this battle with Italy, New Zealand. New Zealand's benefited. It's Germany and USA have yet to benefit.
Oh, Malaysia throwing away possible good points, but he's rejoined behind New Zealand. Germany getting into a bit of a slide there, Timo Scheider, and look at they can't believe it in the grandstand.
They're already leaving. I don't believe it. I think they're just going for an ice cream or something.
Well, yeah, he hasn't gone off, at least. He's still in the hunt, but he's lost a place as a result of a mistake, presumably a mistake. We didn't see what happened. We'll hopefully see if we get another chance. And now
weaving. Keep an eye on all this. This is not what is permitted. Challenge from Brian Herter, Team USA, on Timo Scheider, Team Germany. This battle is going to get more intense with 4 laps to go. Can he move down the inside? It's a risky move.
Scheider gives him room, but there isn't the space or the speed that Herter needs to slip alongside there.
But the pace looks to me to be with Team USA, but the defensive driving of Team Germany is preventing him. In the meantime, Ireland behind the USA is closing up the gap, currently 3.8 seconds.
A mistake there from Germany, John, a mistake from Germany. And he's through, yeah, he went very well.
And also Ireland's about to come through, I would suggest as well, unless that problem has rectified itself. It may have been simply a driving error or maybe another long break. But rain, that's what the problem is. It's raining out on the back of the racetrack.
Well, that's why it's all getting a bit dangerous down there, a bit difficult for Timo Scheider to keep control. And now Ralph Furman's got a chance to close up.
Now, that rain is falling around turns 8, 9 and 10. And that's what caught out Timo Scheider. He was probably the first driver to seriously affected by it. Now that the drivers are alerted, they know what to expect.
So Alexander Premat will be under strict instructions to take it easy and look after this 12-second lead that he has over Switzerland. Mexico still to make their pit stop. Well, I wonder if they can come in and change onto wets. That might help them.
Well, that would not be an hour. It's not going to help them overall. Nonetheless, we've never really seen a team in the series so far go so deep in the feature race before they make that mandatory pit stop.
No, that's right, leaving it right to the last minute. But France still in control here by good margin. They've got to watch out for some of the slower cars ahead, though, as the conditions get a bit tricky in a couple of places on circuit. It all looks pretty good up here, but just as in qualifying, we're noticing that it's certain portions of the track that are getting affected by rain. Now, the Netherlands is into the pits. Jos Verstappen finally making his pit stop.
So we're getting into the zone of the racetrack where that rain fell. That was 1 lap ago. It doesn't appear to have been a particularly long shower. Nevertheless, it fell and caught out Team Germany, and to the benefit of Team USA.
Yeah, USA up to 8th place now. Germany 9th. That's where it's real. Oh, look, Lebanon's lost it. Lebanon's lost it on the rain, and he's off on the curve. Has he kept the engine running or not?
Well, hopefully that car has got a running engine as we now go back into the pit lane and see Netherlands
do their work. They've got wets on the back, and he's putting a slick on the front. What's going on? Wet on the back as they put the Mexican pit stop.
This looks like Fred Carney's flying circus here, because it is still a dry tyre circuit. There's no need to put with such confusion.
Well, that was the Netherlands who were doing that, and now they've gone for slicks all round. Well, that's not going to help their pit stop. It's not a quick one, so poor old Jos Verstappen, he was always going to lose a lot by coming in after the stall.
And they stalled it as well, so how bad can it get? You stall on the grid, you make a late pit stop and have a problem with the wheel tyre or choice of tyres, and then you stall on the exit.
So Switzerland running second here. Remember, they've still got the Czech Republic not that far behind them, but it's France that leads as we have just 2 laps to go. Verstappen finally rejoins just ahead of the race leader, and Switzerland there running in second. Big advantage they have over the next car they're actually dicing with, because the Czech Republic only just coming out of the final corner, turn 15. Behind the Czech car should be Italy. Yep, Italy still running there, and they are on.
Oh, Ireland trying to get past Germany. Big lock-up between these two drivers. The gap has reduced. It was about 3 seconds in the intervening period while we were in the pits. In this battle now, once again a position for 9th place. Germany 9, Ireland 10.
Yep, still in the points. Bit of a lock-up ahead of them. I think that was from USA, but no major dramas there. It's Switzerland second, Czech Republic third, Mexico finally making his pit stop.
Now let's see how much damage this does to Mexico, who at one stage were running in second place, obviously.
They are putting wets on.
I don't know why they're even bothering wasting their time.
It's only wet on one part of the circuit. It does seem a little bit strange to put the wets on now, but it's a good
wets
stop.
in the back and dries in the front. So well, there's your wets on that. Yes, wets all round. I thought I just got a quick glimpse. It looked like it was slick in the front. There's wets all round. No need to do that whatsoever. With 2 laps to go, unless suddenly there's going to be a deluge beyond all imagination.
Good stop, 45 seconds, not as quick as the French stop, which was 40 seconds, but still not bad effort, and they've put the wets on, but I don't think that's going to give him any particular benefit. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up, though. I don't think he'll still be in the points. He'll be outside the points, I'm pretty sure. Now, France have this race pretty much to themselves now. They've only got 1 corner and 1 lap to go. He'll come out this time of turn number 15 and go on to his final lap, and he has a huge advantage over Switzerland.
Yes, there is Neil Yarney, Team Switzerland, coming down that long back straight, and I think the gap on the last occasion was 10.3 seconds. I suspect it's probably down less than the 10 seconds. If we look at Czech Republic, as it comes down into turn 15 as well.
Little bits of rubber coming off the tyres in these latter stages of the race, bouncing around into the final corner. Going on to his last lap is Thomas Enger, but the race leader already heading around this 3.4-mile track for the final time, and Alexander Premat is going to keep the record alive. You win the sprint race, you come back out and you win the feature as well.
Indeed, but this has been a much more competitive battle all the way through. Really, it was the superb teamwork in the pits on that wheel change that sealed the victory here for France. They got in and out seamlessly. Switzerland had more problems, but nonetheless a great. But here's another battle.
Yeah, for position, for fifth. Malaysia trying to take 5th from New Zealand. He's done it. He squeezed past through turn number 2. Look at the fans. They love it. Malaysia's reclaimed the spot that they lost with a mistake at turn 15. Alex Young has dug deep and he's found a way past the Black Beauty, the New Zealand car. He's up into 5th.
And that was a good pass, an aggressive racing manoeuvre, and something that has made the entire fan base, the Malaysia fan base, certainly here this weekend, they're delighted.
They will match their best result. He's had a couple of 5th places already this year, has Alex, and he's on for another one, and they'll be pleased with that. A top 5 finish will be a real achievement for Malaysia on home turf, but nobody could match this car once again. It's the French team that has come to a round of A1 Grand Prix and dominated both races. Not dominated in quite the same style. They really had to fight for it, particularly in the sprint race. In the feature race, it's been a little bit more straightforward. And here comes Alexander Premat now into the final turn. He's had to deal with rain on parts of the circuit. He had an absolutely brilliant pit stop given to him by his team. And it's France that comes through to take their 8th victory of the A1 Grand Prix season. A dominant win in the feature race by a large margin over Switzerland, who finished, well, in the end he backed off, so 4.5 seconds behind. 3rd place and the first podium finish in A1 Grand Prix for the Czech Republic.
And I think that's a great result for Czech Republic, who at the early stage of this race weren't even in the top 10. Thomas Enger, experienced, fast, has done a brilliant job here this afternoon.
Italy coming home in 4th. New Zealand beaten on that last lap by Malaysia. Malaysia coming across the line now. There's a big cheer as he gets it. He takes that 5th place. New Zealand 6th, United States 7th, Germany 8th, and the points finishes completed by Ireland and Brazil. The car that stalled at the start, Piquet Jr. got back to 10th.
Well, delight for Alex Young, but also that battle between New Zealand, Malaysia, New Zealand, USA, Germany, Ireland and Brazil was very, I mean, I tell you, I would love to see those 5 cars coming into turn 15 on that last lap. It must have been one of the best views. Oh, a little bit of oversteer on the exit as they come across start-finish line. So a really exciting feature race, and one that ultimately, in my view, was down to the teamwork of Team France. And they got their man in, they did a perfect service, but there's the joy, I think, on the faces of everybody in the Czech Republic. They are delighted. Even Nicolas Lapierre, 8 out of 8. Now the pressure will be back on Nicolas Lapierre when we head off in 3 weeks' time to Dubai.
Yeah, what an incredible run the French are having. Brazil might have won the first 2 races of the year, but France have won every single race since then. Now look, fastest lap in the sprint race. I think that's the first time that we've had the fastest lap of the 2 races actually coming from the sprint and not the feature. So that's an interesting one. France are ending up with the fastest lap of the weekend, so they gain that extra point. So once again, it's a dominant weekend, and Alexander Premat can truly relax.
So he did a very good job. He drove, let's say, with a different style. There was a lot more head in that drive. He didn't try and run away and hide. He maybe wasn't able to, but he drove intelligently because there was always pressure. And second place, that was on Team GBR coming from Team Switzerland. So he had that little buffer. And then once he got into about 8 or 10 laps, he was able to then extend the potential that Team France have got. They've clearly got something which everybody else in the pit lane is second guessing as to what it is.
Yeah, they're going to have to guess a bit more and work on it, but they're the final results. 4.5 seconds only. He really did back off on that last lap because he was a good 15 seconds ahead into the final stages. The USA getting into the points once again, and they'll be pleased about that because the USA have had a bit of an up and down time in the A1 series so far. Their best result, of course, still that 4th place that they enjoyed in Portugal, but Herta getting into the points for the second time, second meeting at least in succession. He was in the points in the feature race as well at Eastern Creek. Malaysia as well. Good result in the end. Alex Young reclaimed the spot that he had, and well, if he had stayed down, perhaps they wouldn't have had so much support, but the fans loved that last lap when he got back past New Zealand.
Well, the level of celebrity here in Malaysia for Alex Young and his partner, his wife, is probably only equal to that of people like David Beckham, and he is a very popular sportsman indeed. And this certainly, okay, he didn't win the race, he's not even on the podium, but he did a great job for Malaysia, and that's why the fans have come here to support him.
But there is Alexander Premat, Nicolas Lapierre there also congratulating him. What a job from the whole team, because the pit stop was certainly, of the ones we looked at closely, was the fastest. I mean, to do that under pressure when the car was leading the race was absolutely brilliant from the French team. They were so slick on the tyre change. Switzerland finished second, but what a fantastic result for the Czech Republic. They had a miserable qualifying session. The first race didn't go well. He started 16th on the grid, John, just to remind ourselves, and he's come through to finish 3rd.
Well, you know, whatever happens up to the point of the pit stop, thereafter it is almost a gamble. You just do not know where people are going to finish, and if you get a bad pit stop in the Czech Republic, and a very good pit stop indeed, and that elevated Thomas Enge and the Czech Republic onto the podium. And for a country, again, a country only represented by Thomas Enge at top-level motorsport, what a great result indeed. And there will be joy. If there's not Czech beer being drunk in the Czech Republic's pits tonight, I'll be surprised.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a bit of celebration. And he's been racing, of course, in the United States over the last couple of years, been racing in the IRL series, in the Indy cars, on the ovals primarily. So getting himself dialed back into running the road courses, but he's had a lot of success in European-style racing in the past, so it's nothing that new to him. Maybe taking him a few races to really get to grips with the whole A1 Grand Prix situation, but he's fought his way well through here. And at one stage in the race, you noticed he had fastest lap, so he certainly had pace.
Oh, there's pace, particularly when he got his fresh out of tyres, and that's indicative of the experience that he's picked up racing in the United States, where pit stops are a major part of their race. And of course, when you put a fresh set of rubber on, you've got to capitalise on every part of that rubber you got. And again, it's where you come in after that pit stop, or where you go out, I should say, after the pit stop, to get into a part of racetrack where you can maximise out, rather than coming into a group of cars where you then lose the benefit.
Yeah, it's wonderful to see the support for Alex Young there. A top 5 finish, that was pretty much their dream. Remember, we spoke to Fauzi just before the start of the race. Top 5 is what he was hoping for. Podium would have been, well, it would have been wonderful. Didn't quite happen. Good pit stop from the Malaysian crew, though. They got him turned around quickly. We presume it was a mistake he made going into turn 15, but he reclaimed the spot that he'd lost on the last lap. And he finished in 5th place, ahead of New Zealand, ahead of the United States and Germany. and Ireland and Brazil.
Well, that's the result from the fans. For Alex Young's 5th place. Imagine what would have happened if he'd actually won this race.
That would have been quite something, wouldn't it? You know, 5th place is still the best result for a team on home soil. It seems to happen several times. We saw Germany score a 5th place when we were at the Lausitz Ring as well. Robbie Kerr got a 5th place in the sprint race in Brands Hatch. So it seems to be the one to go for, 5th position on your home track. So everything now just settling down. We were lucky to get away with the weather, just that little sprinkling of rain at the end.
Yes, that was a little bit of a gamble that was thrown in around turns 8, 9 and 10. It just came down. It came down probably for not more than about 30 seconds. But for those that were on that part of track at that particular time, it clearly was a problem and caught out Timo Scheider in particular for Team Germany.
Well, the Czechs and the French both getting ready. The French there, of course, they're getting used to this situation of celebrating the podium. There is Jean-Paul Driot again, and it's got a big smile on his face now. And the Czechs, I'm sure, are going to go crazy too. The ones down there in the pit lane. I'm not sure that there are too many Czechs up in the grandstands here today, but we're now getting ready for those 3 drivers to make their way out onto the podium. And Switzerland are certainly making a thing of finishing second, another second place for Neil Yarni, to add to their tally of second positions. They had one in Germany, and they had another one in Portugal, of course. So they've had 2 here this weekend, and it certainly keeps them right up there in the hunt, with Brazil finishing only 10th. They only picked up 1 point. Switzerland picked up 9, and that will put certainly keep Switzerland, I think, maybe even into second place in the championship. There's Thomas Enger coming up to claim his 3rd position. He's got the big flag with him too.
And he wears it throughout the race because his overalls are also in the colours of the Czech Republic.
Neil Yarni coming up to get his silver once again, but race winner, double winner here in Malaysia is Alexander Premat. So we'll just wait for the presentations to begin now, and the anthem first. Well, we're getting the sound of that anthem, aren't we, on the top of the A1 podium. And just to confirm that with that result, Switzerland have moved up into second place in the standing now. They have moved past Brazil. Brazil suffered that stall on the start. Nelson Piquet Jr. didn't get off the line cleanly. 2nd time this year that he's done that. And I'm sure he'll be bitterly disappointed. He ended up with just 1 point for 10th place. But there is Thomas Enger receiving his medal, his medal for 3rd place, and that is very much best finish of the season. Great performance from him. Didn't join in the championship at the beginning of the year. He missed the Brand round because he was committed elsewhere. His best result, 5th place, that was in Estoril, and he's certainly beaten here with 3rd position.
What interesting little fact. We've just been looking at the timing and scoring screen. If I was anybody outside of Team France, I'd be as sick as a parrot. They only actually used one of the power boost. They only used it once. There's 7 remaining at the race, and that is a pretty telling statistic. It just shows you how far down the road France are their car, and how much advantage that they had. They only needed once. I suspect that was just to confirm. Well, in fact, they didn't pass the lap in the feature race. Normally, that's what they do it for, but they felt that with doing it in the sprint, there was no need to do it in this 40-lap race.
There is the trophy. He's got and another major sum of money have gone the way of France, another $300,000, and that's put them over the $1 million. They've now won more than $1 million as a result of their results in the feature races.
Well, what can you say? That just shows where I think that the one thing that really summed up performance over this entire 5-race series to date was that pit stop this afternoon. That was absolutely seamless. There was not a single flaw anywhere in it at all. And we did see a very aggressive move from Alexander Premat, but he did squeeze Switzerland against the barrier. That a totally flawless day from the entire French team, and I wonder, well, when are the opposition going to release us and put us under pressure?
I'm very happy with the situation.
And after I was in front, and I am lucky because Gianni maybe was a little bit faster of me in the long race, and he had a lot of fighting with Robica, and so I did a good gap. And after the mechanic and the team did a really good job in the pit stop, and I was 15 seconds in front of Gianni, and so maybe the 10 laps ago I was really cool, and because I was really care because I come to spin.
It was a lonely race for you out there. You must have been happy when you could come in the pits and see some faces, and your team gave you a pretty perfect pit stop.
Yeah, for sure. The team did a perfect pit stop because before the pit stop I was really slower than Gianni because the car was really hard to drive, and the car was not really like the sprint race because I had a lot of problem with the car. So I tried to fight a lot with the car, and so I am happy.
Miliani Team Switzerland, you had a difficult race, you had a problem in the pits, you were forced to fight back. Did you think that you would finish second?
I think we could have won quite easily in this race because we were really quick. And after the pit stop, I was flying. I came, I don't know, from 7th. I overtook 4 cars. I overtook 3 in 1 lap. So, it was really perfect. The car was fantastic in the second race. And I could really push hard. Unfortunately, our pit stop was nearly a century long, and don't know what happened. Unfortunately, we lost it there.
Switzerland are now second in the championship, 5 points ahead of Brazil. How much was that on your mind to get that position today?
Well, not at all actually, because aim is to win a race, and finishing second is the first loser from my point of view. So I don't care really about that.
Okay, thanks very much. Thomas Enger, the Czech Republic, congratulations on your first podium, but you were forced to work hard for it.
Well, obviously it was hard for everybody, but we had really good race car today, this weekend. We were lucky in the second race. We were unlucky the whole weekend. We were unlucky in the first race. I was hit in the first corner, and my rear wing was really broken. I was not able to drive it. But finally, luckily, I get to the finish on 16th place, and I thought, okay, this is not bad actually starting position, or this is much better starting position for second race than to be 24th. But there was a little bit of mess in the first corner again after the start in the second race, and I was able to get through quite cleanly, overtook some cars, and then it was all about strategy, have a good pit stop, and the car was pretty good from beginning to the end of the race, and we did, let's say, nearly everything perfect. I have to thank to my mechanics because they repaired the car just in last minute for the second race, because the damage in the rear was quite big. It was the whole rear wing, a little bit the side pods, and also the rear case of the gearbox as well. So we were lucky. Everybody did a great job, so I'm happy to be third, and well, I hope we will continue like this.
How much do you think this is going to be a turning point for the Czech Republic?
Well, I thought there's going to be a turning point already in Portugal 2 races ago or 3 races ago, but unfortunately we were struggling again in Australia. I don't know why, but we were struggling also here in qualifying. We had a little bit bad luck because we missed the right window for a fast lap in the second qualifying. But at the end of the day, this is the main race counts. Obviously, I would like to have as many points as possible for both races, but I hope at this moment we're just going to continue in this progress.
Thanks very much, Thomas. Just finally, Alex, at the start of the A1 Grand Prix programme, did you realistically think that France would be so dominant?
Well, for sure. I hope so, because with Nico and the team Dams, they did A1 France, they did a really good job since the beginning of the championship, and maybe we are two stronger man, and like Gianni or like everybody, I think so. But I think we have a good setup. We work really good, and for the setup, for the pit stop, and for everything.
Gentlemen, thanks very much.
Thank you. So Alexander Premat looking happy, composed and confident. It'll be Nicolas Lapierre at the wheel of the car next time out in Dubai, of course. But Thomas Enger delighted to have taken that third place. Quick mention too, though, John, fourth place for Italy. Very much their best finish of the season. They had 5 points coming into this race meeting, and now they've more than doubled that. They're up onto 12 points. So good effort from Toccocello.
Yes, Toccocello is a driver really who has underperformed, or Team Italy has underperformed today. They got a result which is more in accordance with where we'd expect them to be.
Confirmation of the points then. France lead by an ever-growing margin, but Switzerland have now taken second, Brazil a third. New Zealand have reclaimed fourth spot from Great Britain. They'd lost it after the sprint race, but they're back there again. And then sixth, tied for sixth, Malaysia and the Netherlands. Behind them, Ireland, Portugal and Australia. And Australia were pretty much out of luck here in Malaysia this weekend. Canada in 11th place, but the Czech Republic's popped up to 12th, joint 12th with Mexico as a result of their good finish. And Italy have jumped up to 15th position. Pakistan are holding on to 20th place at the moment. They're on 4 points. And then we've still got 4 nations that are yet to score. China, India, who came so close in the sprint race, they finished in 11th, Lebanon and Team Russia.
Well, in 3 weeks' time we'll all be heading off to Dubai and another brand new racetrack for A1GP cars to experience, but somebody is going to have to find out what France are doing to give their two drivers. It doesn't matter whether it's Nicolas Lapierre or Alexander Premat, the team and car is so much superior to everybody else. We've seen great performances from Switzerland, we saw it today from the Czech Republic, but there's got to be more consistency.
Let's take a look back then at some of the action from that feature race. The standing start took place and France were very determined to hold on, but the stalled cars of Piquet and Verstappen were very lucky not to be hit.
But again, just look how much with Alexander Premat and Neil Yanni. This is the view from Piquet, and it stalls it as just he releases the clutch, it stalls. Sitting there on a grid when that happened. Now look, that's the consequence. Team Switzerland are very unhappy with the move of Team France just after the lights went out.
That was the rollover for Team China, a dramatic moment. He made contact with this car, Portugal. They ended up with a puncture, and then the tyre separated from the rim as he tried to get back in towards the pits. India then misjudged the braking, ran into the back of Pakistan of all nations, and the two of the cars were both damaged. Pakistan went out very soon after that. India came back into the pits but wasn't to be lasting much longer.
More action with Team New Zealand and Malaysia. This was a battle that pretty much went on throughout the race. And this is India. This is the reason why, in fact, India was black flagged, because he had a bump start pushed by the marshals, and that would, of course, be an automatic disqualification.
Great Britain and Switzerland were involved in a great tussle in the early stages of the race, and just a minor lock-up there from Great Britain, from Robbie Kerr, allowed Neil Yanni to sweep around the outside and take that second position. But as we heard, it wasn't all according to plan, because the pit stop certainly hurt Switzerland, who had to fight pretty hard to make sure they held on to that spot.
Yes, this is the real battle that went on prior to those pit stops taking place, but this is what was did for Great Britain. They had a major problem with one of the rear wheels, the left rear. They just could not get that wheel to settle onto the hub, and a new wheel was brought out. Here's another incident. Canada running into the tail of Italy. Italy finished fourth in spite of this contact, but for Canada it was raced over with a left front puncture and pretty much most of the nose wing destroyed.
That's disappointing indeed for Sean McIntosh. Italy surviving that moment and coming through for a good finish. Malaysia was all a bit exciting. He made a mistake down at turn 15, lost the place as the rain fell. We also saw the spin for the Lebanese car, Khalil Bashir, although he did make it through to the finish. And then Alex Young reclaimed the spot from New Zealand that he'd lost a little bit earlier. And that caused some delight not only in the pit garage, but out in the stands too.
But in the meantime, it was all France. They had total control. A brilliant pit stop got Alex Premat back out, and he had a comfort zone of 15 seconds, which of course just on the final lap, final corner, he reduced to over 4 seconds. But all he had to do was cruise round to that final lap.
And coming through to take their first podium finish of the season, the Czech Republic. A well-driven, well-judged race by the team. They brought him in relatively early, compared to the other cars that he was dicing with in the early stages. It worked brilliantly from their point of view. They turned the car around quickly. Malaysian fans went crazy for another 5th place finish for Alex Yoong, matching his best of the season so far. So there were some definite celebrations in the pit lane, even if there were some teams who ended the day rather disappointed. Teams like China, Pakistan, India and Great Britain. So those were the scenes from the feature race here. We've seen 2 very exciting, incident-packed races in Sepang, at the Sepang circuit, and the circuit that is known so well by Alex Yoong. A chance to hear from him now, the man who finished in 5th place.
Alex, you worked hard in that race, didn't you?
Yeah, I was flat out from start to finish, you know, and it was good. The car was quite good, so I could really attack with it.
You said before the race that the heat wasn't going to be a problem for you, but you looked like you worked extra hard.
Yeah, I could still push right to the end, but yeah, I need to put more water in the drink bottles because halfway through I already ran out.
And how happy are you?
Good, really happy. You know, I think we showed today that we've got the pace to run at the front, and we just need to qualify better. And hopefully that elusive podium will come soon.
Alex, thank you very much indeed, and well done for Malaysia in your home race.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, definitely a great effort on their home turf. And, well, of course, next time out, it's not quite a home turf for anyone, but for Lebanon, it's the closest they're going to get to home turf.
Yes, it'll be a very important race for them. They've got many other fans coming down. Of course, many Lebanese live in Dubai, so it will be a big, I'll not call it a party, that will come after a celebration, but it will be a major event for Lebanon. But for everybody going there, it's going to be another opportunity. A circuit again, not probably running in the same level of temperature that we have experienced here over the last 3 days in Malaysia, but more comfortable, probably middle 70s Fahrenheit, probably somewhere in the mid 20s Celsius.
So we have now completed the 5th event of A1 Grand Prix. Here in Malaysia, we've seen Team France take 2 more victories and further increase their championship lead. But Switzerland have now moved up into 2nd, and they were very close to winning here today. Maybe they can do it next time. We'll find out. From Ben Edwards and John Watson from Malaysia, for now, goodbye.